Section 4. Working with data in our app. In this section, we're going to take a look at pulling data from an API, in our case, the Open Movie Database, and a look at the Google Firebase SDK, using a HTTP API. In this video, we're going to take a look at pulling data from an API into our app using Alomafire. So right now, we've made this movie search bar text observable, and we're currently subscribing on these elements, but all we're doing is printing them. What we want to do is look them up. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say let URL equals, and now I need a URL for the API endpoint. I'm just going to hop into Google and type in OMDB, and it should be the first one that comes up, omdbapi.com, and just go ahead and up here click on API key. Go ahead and click on the free one, enter your details, and you'll be emailed an API key. Then back on the homepage, you can see the usage. It says send all data requests to this URL. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this right into Xcode for the URL as a string, and at the end add our query. And I'm just going to change this to query. That makes more sense now. And here where it says square brackets your key, that's where you want to put your key. Now because I don't want all of you using my key, I have made a values.swift file right here in which my key is stored. So values.key. And just where this ampersand is, you want to add an s equals. And the reason for this is if you scroll down on the website to the parameters section, you can see that you can get a value by search. And for that, you have to supply the parameter s, and you have to make s equals to something. So this is the movie title to search for. You can pull a specific movie by the ID. We want to utilize the search here, so we need to provide that parameter. If you're not providing any parameters, then you're not searching for anything. You're just asking for, well, effectively nothing really. Now that we've got our URL sorted, we can go ahead and import Alomafire. So now down here, just below our URL declaration, we can say alomafire.request. We want our URL dot. We want to take the JSON response from this. Hit enter again. I can rename this to response. At this point in time, I'm also going to import Swifty JSON, just so we can parse that JSON nicely. Just type in if let value. So if we get a value from this response result.value, so if that does actually return a usable value, then go ahead and make that a JSON object with that value. We have the list of results. And what we want to do is we want to obviously display these movies. So what we need to do here is we need to change our existing movies array to just an empty string array. And this array is where we're going to add the search results, because that's what the table view is rendering. The table view is using this data source. So when we start, we don't want it to actually be rendering anything. We want it to just be blank. When we start adding movies, well, for starters, for every new search, we want to clear this list. And then, for every movie we find in our JSON search, sorry, it's capitals apparently, and these JSON node names can be looked up by just getting the raw JSON. So I've effectively just copied and pasted into my address bar what the final URL would be if I search for the movie Avatar. And here we can see, yes, here's the search node. And then we have an array of movie objects for which there's a title, there's a year, there's an ID, and there's everything. Obviously, it's not really that useful in this format. What you can do is search for an online JSON viewer. There's quite a lot, but I usually just go with the first Google result. And you can just copy and paste all of this into here. Hit on the viewer, and then you can actually see it as a JSON tree. Okay, so you can actually see, yes, we are looking up under this search node, and then we get our array of movies. And that's the array that we're looping through in this for loop. We want to change this movies to a var, actually, from a let, just so it's mutable. We can actually change, the contents. And so now what we can do is, if let title, so if we can get a title, movie dot one, that's the JSON. This is a tuple, effectively. So we want this JSON part of the movie. And in that JSON part, we want the title. And we want it as a string. If you can get that title, then self.movies, go ahead and append and add this title. At the end of all this, just before the Alarm of Fire request finishes, at the end of it all, go ahead and we can't just directly call it from here because we don't have an instance of it. So we'll open up the assistant editor. In here I can manually just hold control, drag, or right click drag, whatever you want, and just add this table view outlet. Now go back into the normal editor. Now if we scroll down, we can finally do that, table view dot reload data. And that should be everything. So let's go ahead and run this on an iPhone 8. Now if I start typing movies in, it's actually not going to work. And the reason for this is, if you see down here in the console, it says app transport security is blocked to clear text HTTP resource load since it is insecure. So what we need to do is, we actually need to change this URL to HTTPS, okay, to make that connection secure. OMDB API does support HTTPS, so there should be no problems there once we've added that in. So let's go ahead and run it again. Now if we start searching for a film, we will get all our results. You may sometimes find that due to this throttle, that the experience isn't as smooth, so we can change the throttle to debounce. And they work slightly differently, but debounce is usually more recommended. Throttle is only for when you really need it.